Hello, everyone. So I'm going to take 20 minutes or so and talk through the terms that we have on our Music Fundamentals worksheet. And I'm just going to offer my own thoughts and perspective on what these words mean and how we use them to think about music. But as always, the critical thing is for you to, clarify for yourself what the heck it is we're talking about here. So think about the music that you enjoy listening to and see if any of these ideas make sense with regard to that. And bring in, questions to class or post them on the blog. If there's a piece of music you like and you're thinking, okay, is there like any dissonance in this, or what's the meter, what's the rhythm, bring that in and we'll talk about it. So the first two terms we have are dissonance and consonants. We've talked about this a bit. You can think of these words, they have sonance, S-O-N-A-N-C-E, the idea of sound in them. So consonants, con meaning, with, something that's conjoined, something that's together. Those are sounds that are pleasing to us, that sound, complete and at ease. Whereas dissonance, you think of, disjunction. Those are going to be sounds that sound, kind of unpleasant or grating, or that they need to resolve in some way. So, as we said, I think the first day of class, this is cultural. Different places and different times will have totally different ideas about what sounds consonant, what sounds dissonant. In the particular tradition of music that we're studying, and it carries into, the popular music that, we listen to today, there are some very specific ideas about what consonance is. So, here's some consonant intervals. These are all sounds that, typically in this tradition we describe as consonant. So how about some dissonant sounds? These are sounds that are harsher to our ear. And, we might feel that we want them to complete themselves, to go somewhere that relaxes us. So if we hear, how should I do this? Let's do it. Okay, we've gone from dissonance to consonance. If we hear this, we might want to hear it go up like that. And then we feel like, okay, now it doesn't need to go anywhere else. It's nice and consonant. So think about that as you're listening to music. And I'll just add here that dissonance is not bad. Great music has dissonance in it. So it's not that one is good and one is bad. It's more just an experience that we have in our minds of this interplay of tension and then resolution. So it's not about value judgments, it's about, that experience of music. Am I feeling that I needed to go somewhere, or am I feeling like, we've arrived home? So think about that. The next two topics, terms, are music and noise. I will leave that for you to think about. Then we're in a realm of thinking about how music is itself played. So we've got terms like dynamics, accent, forte and piano, crescendo and decrescendo. So, if you think about your favorite singer when they're performing or any kind of instrumental music, an accent is going to be, when they make a particular sound louder than another sound. So, accenting those first two notes. And that, that can be written into the music. It can be something a composer wants you to do. It could be something you decide to do as the performer. So in general, these kind of decisions we call dynamics because it makes the music more dynamic. You could just play everything at a monotone, even if your notes are changing, but there is no expression in it, that wouldn't be so interesting. So if you think about where to play loud, where to play soft, where to have accented notes, where to have legato or smooth notes, those are all issues of dynamics. And so, our go-to words for that are forte, meaning loud, and piano, meaning soft. So we will be listening for that a lot for sure. And then, of course, it's not like a binary, like it's either loud or soft. You can gradually get louder. That would be a crescendo. You can gradually get softer. Gradually get softer. And that would be a decrescendo. So, these are artistic and creative decisions often. How are you going to express this music? Following the guidance of the composer, but also just, expressing it in your own way. We looked at a lot of people last week singing versions of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And their dynamics were really different. They were doing really different things with the music. So, it's always a sort of rich and interesting thing. All right, the next words we have, adagio, allegro, vivace. These are words that have to do with the speed of music. So adagio tends to be slow and graceful. Allegro is a more brisk pace, a kind of walking pace. And vivace means fast. So that would be a fast tempo, music that is moving really quickly. And we will, get into all sorts of terms for this kind of thing. But these are some good ones to sort of put in your brain to think about. How fast is this music moving? If I were going to dance to it, how energetic would I have to be? To be continued there. Next, we've got terms that have to do with voice parts. And again, we will revisit this, but just to give a preliminary definition, there are higher notes and lower notes. There are higher voices and lower voices. So someone with the highest kind of voice is a soprano. And then middle level would be alto. Lowest level would be bass. And then in between, you've got baritone and tenor. So from highest to lowest, you've got soprano, alto, tenor, baritone, bass. So we'll be listening to lots of different singers whose voices, fit this description. All right, next we're in the realm of rhythm. And this is, a kind of complex topic because it encompasses, how the music moves through time. And if anything, that's what really makes music special, different from painting or different from, I guess you read your writing in time, but, even maybe reading has a rhythm to it. How quickly are you reading word by word by word? But music, gives us a very specific experience of time. So the beat is a piece of music, what is the driving force of it? It's like almost another word for it would be the pulse. So very much like the pulse of our heartbeat, what is the underlying groove that this music is taking place in? And so as we think about a beat, there might be hierarchies within that beat. Like we might feel a strong 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In which case we've got a strong, we call it the downbeat. All right. And if we've got that, say we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The upbeat would be the less pronounced beat. So that would be the 2 and 4 in that example. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could emphasize, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, then you're emphasizing the upbeat. And in my particular curious music piece that I'm going to talk about, we will see a very specific example of that. So as you are feeling the beat of a piece of music, think about which beats might feel heavier or stronger. Is there a kind of hierarchy to that experience of feeling the beats? You know, a good thing to listen to might be some marching band music because it's designed to be walked to. And so, you know, it has very strong downbeats that actually dictate how your legs are going to move. Brief interlude. My dog is back. Okay. So then we've got the term tempo, which is an overriding term for what we just talked about. How fast or slow is your piece of music moving? All right, then we've got, you know, some terms here that are a bit conceptual, really referring to what we just talked about, but let's try to clarify what we mean. So rhythm and meter. So, you know, the rhythm, you know, we can think of that as a sort of large scale or broader term for that experience of listening to music in time. You know, what is the sequence of events that happen? You know, a melody is made up of different pitches, but it also has a rhythm. It like some notes are longer than others. It unfolds in time. So that unfolding in time is what we call the rhythm. So if we think about the beginning to Inside Man, which we watched on the first day of class, that Bollywood song that's going chaya 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 chaya. That is the rhythm. Chaya chaya, and you can feel the beat. Chaya 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 chaya. All right. So, you know, rhythm, we're talking about, you know, not just the notes, the sounds that we're making, but the way they happen. And meter, we can think of as a sort of more specific level of that. So we talked about the beat, the upbeat, the downbeat. There are different terms in music for all sorts of different kinds of upbeats and downbeats and however many there are. And so we might call that the meter. So in the example we talked about before, if we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oh, hello, Minnie. What do we think? Is that consonant or dissonant? Thank you. So in our example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, how is that rhythm organized? Well, we've got 4 beats, and they're divided into 2s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we would call that a duple meter, D-U-P-L-E, because it boils down to 2s. But you could also have a triple meter. You could have 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. And, you know, we'll go forth and listen to some examples in class of these different kinds of meters. But as you're, you know, identifying the beat and you're feeling some of that metrical hierarchy, like where are the beats stronger? Where's there a downbeat? Where's there an upbeat? Then you start to think, okay, well, how are they organized? You know, what is the pattern, the wider pattern? And then you're talking about meter. So I will leave cut time and syncopation for now, because I think that we should, you know, clarify those other terms first. And then with ideas like cut time and syncopation, we're talking about how then you set up a meter in a song and then you can manipulate it. So you can suddenly go twice as fast or half as fast, or you can start playing or singing off the beat, even though you were on the beat. So that's generally what we're talking about with cut time and syncopation. But for starters, we want to really think about what is the basic pattern that's being identified. All right, next on our list, we've got conjunct motion and disjunct motion. So if you think about singing a song, any song, take a minute, think of one that you know. I'll use Somewhere Over the Rainbow because that can be our go-to example. You can sing notes that are close together, or you can sing notes that are far apart. So somewhere over the rainbow. Feel that in your voice and in your body, and think about it as you're singing it or humming it. Somewhere, that's a big leap. So that would be disjunct motion. The notes are far apart. I can feel the first note down here, somewhere, and then I'm going high up for that second note. La, la. So that is disjunct motion. The notes are far apart. Somewhere over the rainbow. So we've got a leap. And then we're just coming down a tiny bit. Somewhere. And if you can see my hands, the notes are right next to each other there. So we've got a leap and then a step. That's what we call it. You take a step. If you're just going from one note to the next. And actually my Fitbit counts that as a step that I've taken. So that speaks to the metaphor there. Over. We've got a little leap. Over. So feel how that leap feels compared to the big leap at the beginning. La, 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 la. So it's still a leap, but it's a lot smaller. There's less space between those notes. And then we're just moving up by step. La, 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 la. So those steps would be conjunct motion. Those are notes that are very close together. So you're taking like a step, you can think of it as a literal step with your feet as opposed to a jump, a leap. And as we get familiar with more and more music, we will refine our hearing so that we can sort of automatically tell where are we skipping around and where are we going, step by step. Where is their conjunct motion? Where is their disjunct motion? So you can kind of consider that, a personal challenge to get to know. I think we'll do, one of our blog posts will be about getting to know the piano keyboard, and that will also help visualize this idea. So to get to the end of this column, we've got melody and harmony. We've already talked about these terms a bit. I'll just sort of offer a bit of my perspective on it. So a melody is, it's a string of notes that make some kind of sense. Like if I just play, that would be hard to sing back. And it doesn't really, it's kind of random. It doesn't have, a sort of meaning in any way. Whereas if I'm playing, there's an order inherent in that our brains just sort of naturally hear and assimilate. So that's what's happening with a melody. And actually, the word melody comes from ancient Greek, and I think it's still the word in modern Greek, melos, meaning sweet. So the idea here, kind of like consonants, is that, it's notes that are sweet to us, that sound pleasing, that sound good, that make sense, that, have an order in them that we can appreciate. So, and the easiest way to think about it is the melody is kind of like, if it's someone singing a song, they're going to be singing the melody. Or it's, the sort of standout line with maybe other music and instruments below it, but, it's going to be kind of the main thing that you hear. So harmony is an idea, just built on the premise that, yeah, we could just sing melodies all day, but doesn't it sound beautiful to put all sorts of different notes together? So in the piece I was just playing, you could just play one melody. That's interesting, but isn't it cooler to, have harmony to it? Oops. So that each note is paired with another note. So then it has even more complexity. It has even more meaning. In this instance, both parts have exactly the same rhythm. So they're literally paired. The notes and the rhythm, that same thing is played at the same time, except that the pitches are different. And actually, the whole piece goes on like that. So harmony is the word that we use to talk about when more than one note is sounded at the same time. So a harmony can be consonant or dissonant. Take your pick. Or it could be even more dissonant. It could be, actually, in the piece I just played, these are fairly constant. That's a little dissonant. That's not so bad. So we've got a really dissonant sound in there. But it goes down in such a way that it sort of resolves. It's harsh, and then, okay, we sort of step back from the brink. So harmony, we often use the term to signify something that's very orderly. But remember that it can mean consonants, it can mean dissonance. You can have a dissonant harmony, you can have a consonant harmony. The key idea is that you're playing more than one pitch at the same time. Finally, we're just going to delve briefly into some core ideas of tonality. Now, the tonal system is the sort of core of what we're studying in this class. It developed in the form we're familiar with it now in the 1600s, or it really got, let's say, sort of, I don't know if finalized is the right word, but sort of got defined in a specific way in the 1600s. And basically, tonality is built on the idea that you have a core consonants that you return to, and we call that the tonic. So in the examples I've been playing, when we have something like this, we hear that as dissonant because where's it going to go? It goes here. And that is, basically our brains have been trained. This happens in all sorts of modern popular music. So, for the most part, our brains have all been trained, to feel that this is natural. This is a sort of tension and release. So this consonant place that we go is the tonic. And as we'll hear, the music we're studying is going to take us on all sorts of harmonic journeys. So we start in the world of tonic and then we go other places, and it's dramatic, or it's full of tension, or it's feels far away, and then we come back home. So that's, you know, what the sort of premise that the tonal system is built on. And within that, that's how you have the idea of a cadence. And that just means that a cadence is a moment in the piece of music where you have a pause, in the sense that you have one harmony and then another, and it has a sort of meaning. So what we just heard, that's coming, you know, at the end of a piece of music, or even in the middle, that would be our cadence. So it's kind of like, you know, putting a bookmark, you know, as you're going. It's sort of, the cadence will be two chords that help you keep track of what's going on. So I think that I'll leave this here so that the video isn't too long. Please comment in with any questions, and, you know, feel free to reference, you know, specific pieces of music, you know, put a link to YouTube or wherever, so that, you know, we can listen together and clarify for ourselves. Thanks, everyone. I will see you soon.